Welcome back. I am John P. Today we're going to be covering Tudor's recent watch release. This is going to be a release that watch collectors have been wanting for years now. This is going to be a smaller sized Tudor Pelagos. Yes, that's right, the titanium sport watch that everyone really does rave about. Once they put one on the wrist, Tudor announced a 39mm version of this watch. We're going to be jumping into the specs. We're going to show you some images of the watch. And at the end of this video, I'm going to be covering my thoughts on this watch release, what I think about it. Does it even really matter in the Tudor lineup? And why or why not, I may or may not think that this is very predictable of a release from the brand. But before we do that, guys, please make sure to check out my new TikTok. I know a little cringe, I guess you'd say, but the reality is TikTok, I think, is here to stay. I've been holding out. Check out my TikTok, The Real John P, Instagram, The Real John P, as well as DelReyWatch.com, where we have plenty of Tudor watches, but none of the 39mm Pelagos as of yet. But I'm sure in the near future, someone will probably pick one up and sell it to us. So the Tudor Pelagos 39mm watch, this was just released, and wow, would you look at the watch. Now, the watch is 39mm, but it's in grade 2 titanium with a satin finish, so it's going to look a lot like that original Pelagos. Of course, this one is waterproof to 200 meters or 660 feet, so obviously it's a dive watch, much like the original. The bezel itself is a grade 2 titanium, unidirectional with the, of course, rotating function. It's a dive bezel on a dive watch after all. But interestingly enough, the insert of this bezel has a satin sunray finish that is comprised of ceramic and luminous material. So it's going to look kind of more modern, I guess you'd say, than the original Pelagos, at least in my opinion. I think it gives it a nice look. And with that sunray kind of theme, we do have a sunray satin finish on the dial of the watch, which is going to be very beautiful in contrast with a more flat, perhaps blue color on the original Tudor Pelagos that some may say is good for the contrast in a dive situation, though if you look at the literature on this particular watch, Tudor is really positioning this watch as a both land, sea, go anywhere, do anything kind of watch, even though it is obviously a dive watch. And the dial is going to be a main change aside from that obviously more slimline and simplified, I guess you'd put it, case style. Of course, we're going to have a sapphire crystal. This is a watch from Tudor. They're just not producing watches without that function anymore. This is a luxury watch at the end of the day. And you're going to see the MT5 400 COSC certified manufacturer Tudor in-house movement, which is going to have a self-winding bi-directional system, pretty stock and standard for automatic watches. Today, the power reserve is 70 hours, so it's more than you'd get on a lot of sport watches from big label brands that they compete with out there in the market at this price point. So I think 70 hours is more than anyone really needs. I know I'm interjecting my opinion there, but the reality is I do sometimes focus on the power reserve on the watches as a bit of a plus, though an unneeded feature or function when they start getting into the upper echelons of power reserves. Now, I digress, and we're going to have a bracelet here that is going to be very light because it's made out of that grade 2 titanium. It's going to be just a comfortable wear because although it's a dive watch, which is supposed to be a little chunkier and historically heavier watches, because it's not in stainless, it's not in precious metal, it's in titanium, it's going to be very light, and it's going to have that T-fit folding clasp with the safety catch and diver's extension, making this watch a true sport watch at $4,400 US. Now, what do I think about this watch? First, I think it's cool. Second, Tudor collectors or watch collectors have been asking for this watch for years. At Del Rey Watch, we hear all the time from people, I love the Pelagos, but they don't make a smaller size. You know, they get into the Black Bay 58, and so they always say, I wish I could get that Pelagos. It's so much better of a dive watch than the Black Bay, but unfortunately they don't have the size. Now, Tudor has that size. So for the watch collectors that always said, I'd love to buy it, but XYZ, whether it's from us or an authorized dealer. It doesn't really matter. That's just kind of the chatter. Now they kind of have to buy it, though. I've kind of looked through the comments in some of the Tudor posts, and funny enough, I do see some of the collectors chiming in on the Tudor Instagram page. Oh, if only this was grade 5 titanium. Oh, if only the dial was a blue color instead of the black color. There's always kind of an excuse to not do something, right? But what do I think about this watch next? I do think it's a really great watch, right? Spec for spec, it is a solid sporting watch. I like that they added the kind of that sun ray gradient to the dial and somewhat of that kind of a gradient to the bezel as well. I think that makes it more of a modern watch that you could, throw out there to be more of a unisex option, not necessarily kind of just a tool watch, but more broad reaching, more usable for many different scenarios, not just dive watches, not just, guys looking to pick up that kind of like rugged watch. And it's in a smaller size, so it will fit more people, including myself, that typically wear smaller watches like my Rolex 1016 Explorer from 1972, obviously a much smaller watch. So I do appreciate that smaller size. The main consideration, I would say, is I do think that for the watch, $4,400, while maybe fair compared to their competitors for retail price, I don't quite see it there. Personally, I think for $4,400, especially if you get into pre-owned, you can find some truly phenomenal deals, like coming from brands such as Omega. Get an Omega Seamaster 300M, something like that for even, under that, of course, pre-owned. But I do think that if you hunt around a bit, you could probably find a better deal on a watch. But if you are a Tudor fan, you want something rugged, you want it in titanium, you like the size, I think this is going to be a no-brainer. And with the way the market is today, I'm sure the first couple weeks, they will be maybe difficult to get their hands on, but once Tudor starts ramping up the old pump and dump machine and the authorized dealers get them in stock, I'm sure the salespeople need to make a commission, and there will be some on the shelves that they'll have to move. So speculating on that, but I think that's likely how it will go. Let me know, what do you guys think about this new Tudor Pelagos 39 millimeters? I would love to see it and hear it in the comments below. Also, if any of you have somehow magically picked one up, I'd love to hear your feedback there. Please do not forget to check me out on TikTok, yes, I know, The Real John P, as well as Instagram, The Real John P, and DelReyWatch.com. Thanks, guys. You've been chatting with John P.